Oh, here. And that with the video and because it's not showing us. I guess it's tiny.
Oh, it's because Ian,
Oh,
okay.
there we go. No. There we go. Oh.
Dennis, there's Dennis.
Remote.
Hi, Dennis, I'm promoting you to a panelist.
I need to find that.
Okay.
There you go. Okay, thank you everyone for coming today. First, we are going to start with the housekeeping.
Okay.
Since we forget every time. Not really sure why.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us in this hybrid meeting format. Quick housekeeping note. If you're joining via computer device or phone, you are muted. Commissioners, as a panelist, you're able to mute or unmute at your own discretion, but please mute yourself when you're not speaking to avoid any background noise. If you wish to participate during the public comment portion of the meeting, please raise your hand now to join the speaker's queue. You can, if you're joining via computer, laptop, or device, click on the blue hand icon. For those who are listening to the meeting on phone, press *9. We will lower hands as speakers are called upon. When the public comment begins, we will announce your name and unmute your microphone. You'll have 2 minutes to speak, after which you will be muted. Regarding the chat and Q&A functionality of Zoom, please note attendees cannot use these features. Commissioners, we ask that you do not utilize the chat for any purpose other than technological assistance. Lastly, in accordance with the passage of HB 4212, this meeting will be recorded and posted to the Sustainability Commission website. As always, if there was testimony you were not able to provide or wish to get to us in a different format, please feel free to contact us. And with that, I turn the meeting over to Chair Devin Mann.
Thank you, Danielle. So first we're gonna start with the land acknowledgement from Mitra.
All right. Let me pull this up. So, I am going to talk about the Chachalu Tribal Museum and Cultural Center today, which is located in Grand Ronde, Oregon. Their mission is to support a healthy community by facilitating dialogue, maintaining community continuity, and providing protection of tribal lifeways for the benefit of future generations. I've not been to this museum, but I will be making a point to go there. The Chachalu tells the story of the tribes and bands of the Confederated Tribes of the Grand Ronde community of Oregon, and to honor our elders who kept tribal traditions and dreams alive during the years of dissemination. It is a center where the tribe's restoration is celebrated and our culture is being revitalized. The Yamhill Kalapuya people called this place Chachalu, which translates to place of the burnt timbers. A massive forest fire burned through the Grand Ronde Valley shortly before the time of relocation in 1856. The vision of the museum is to tell the story of the resiliency of the land and of the people who have lived here since time immemorial. The land, once devastated by fires, now revitalized with healthy forests and abundant wildlife. Our salmon have once again returned to our streams. The Grand Ronde people, once uprooted from their various homelands and then terminated by the federal government, are renewed through restoration. This is a center for cultural activity where their tribe's stories, history, and culture continues to be practiced and shared. So I suggest the website is pretty cool to look at. They have a lot of really cool pictures of artifacts and various cultural relics, but I will be making a point to go there myself. And I think we've heard through, I just wanted to say, I have really enjoyed learning about the origins of the people that lived here in this manner that we've kind of developed here. I thought bringing literature and not only cultural experiences that we can engage with, but like, I've really loved where this has gone, and I feel like I've learned a lot, and it's driven me to reflect and frequently think about it, and I just wanted to say thank you for everyone who's contributed to that. And I hope we can continue to do that. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mitra. I'm gonna add just two quick things to that. So one is, I know you didn't, and that's okay, but remember, it's great if we could get a link to the website or a link to whatever it is.
Sorry.
To Danielle, so she can actually put it in the agenda, and then we can click on it before we come if we want, or other people, when it's posted, could actually access that too.
Okay.
And the other part really quick is I wanted to second what you said, regarding doing the land acknowledgement this way, because I was at a graduation on Monday. I think it was Monday, and they just read the standard land acknowledgement before the ceremony. It was a history, it was a small gathering at U of O. And it just seemed like just reading something because they had to read it, right? Even though they're history professors reading it, I mean, and who it was, but it was just like, this is what we read before the graduation. It's very scripted. I appreciate the thought. It's not that, it just seems like this is so much more meaningful, and we actually learn something, and it isn't just going through the motions. And I found it to be a lot more valuable than people waiting to graduate, just wanting the land acknowledgement to hurry up and be over so they can get their diplomas. So anyway, I just thought I would add that. So thank you, everyone. So we won't be meeting again until September, right? So let's all remember that. And not just show up randomly, even though I know how much everyone likes to come. So the first action item, well, this particular action item is to review and approve the this agenda and the May meeting minutes. Someone want to make a motion to approve?
I will so move. There was one place in the minutes that referred to me as the chair, and then
Oh.
to you as the chair, so.
Okay. Noted.
We're battling it out.
Legacy.
So motion to approve as amended? Anyone?
Second.
Okay. Good. All right, all in favor? All right, great.
Oh, I abstained because I wasn't here.
Oh, that's okay.
Likewise.
No problem. All right, public comment. I think is there anyone on there?
I don't think anyone's here today.
No, I don't think so. Alrighty, take it away, Danielle.
Okay.
We have in-house talent tonight,
We have in-house talent every time. but
every time. Yes, that is so
she's
true.
performing.
Okay.
So she just like minutes ago sent out the slide deck to our emails. If someone is interested in pulling that up, who has a.
Also, more than a few minutes ago, maybe 6 hours ago, I sent you a PDF, a 4-page PDF. So hopefully you guys all saw that.
Yep.
That sort of
And the links to the new dashboard and the
Yep.
new, what is the other one called?
story map.
Story map.
Just so I'm aware, you're not in trouble if you didn't read it, because I know I sent it to you very late, but just so I know who I'm talking to, how many of you had the chance to like dive into those things? Or not at all?
Like,
Halfway.
Partway, yeah.
Not really, okay, that's fine. That's kind of just what I wanted to know, so. Okay, so, yeah, I'm excited to be here and share a little bit of what we've been working on. So for those who don't know, in addition to my job managing the Sustainability Commission, I'm also a climate policy analyst for the city. And I work, as part of that job, I work with city council, with city leadership, with our regional partners, and the public to take steps to reduce our greenhouse gases and carve our pathway forward in addressing climate change. A lot of my job is about tracking what's being done and doing research and engagement to implement new initiatives, programs, policies. Ian, is there a way to get the speaker notes? Not in this way, okay. Sorry, so that's fine. I'm glad I finished them out. So tonight I'll be sharing an update on our work. First, I'm gonna provide a little bit of context about like our climate goals and our plan. Then I'll share some of the new communications tools we've developed, and then I'll dive into what our biggest highlights have been over the last year or so, and how we're evaluating our impact from those actions. So, okay, to get everyone up to speed, about 10 years ago, Eugene was one of the first cities in the nation to put fossil fuel and carbon emissions reduction goals into city code. So in 2014, City Council passed the Climate Recovery Ordinance. These established our climate goals to reduce fossil fuel use by 50% by 2030 and to reduce community-wide greenhouse gas emissions by 7.6% annually. And the city also established similar goals for city operations. So these goals are really at the foundation of all of the work that's happened since then related to climate. Next, the city created the Climate Action Plan, also known as CAP 2.0, and this outlines a range of actions across 5 different categories that the city and our partners have committed to address climate change and to meet our climate goals. The first 4 categories up here are based on the areas that contribute most to greenhouse gas emissions. So transportation, buildings, waste, and consumption. Resilience, which is the last category here, is really about protecting the community and adapting, since we know some of the impacts of climate change are already being felt locally and are likely to intensify. So in total, we have 117 actions. So before I dive into explaining our highlights and where we're at on CAP 2.0, I just want to explain some of the new communications tools we've developed. And just to remind everyone, and to those who weren't here last year, the Sustainability Commission helped to engage on these tools. So y'all engaged on some of the tools where they were at, and you gave staff some great feedback, and I'm happy to say a lot of what you shared and what we've heard elsewhere has been integrated into some of these new tools. So first, we created a short, digestible 4-page guide. That's what you received today in your email. This is meant to provide a really quick snapshot of all of our climate work in a digestible format and help orient people to the existing resources that they may want to explore further. So think of it as like a menu for people to choose their own adventure of what they want to learn about. If you're more of a story person and want to know some of our recent successes with projects and policies, you can dive into the story map, which is extremely awesome. If you're more into numbers and data and want to engage in some of the metrics and key indicators we're using to evaluate our progress in a way that's digestible and easy to navigate, check out our climate dashboard. And if you want to get involved and take action, this 4-page guide provides a launch pad for that. So again, this 4-page guide is meant to direct people to the information they want to get more into. So about our story map, which I just mentioned, this is a new evolution of our typical annual report. I'm very excited about it. We brought on an intern this spring, Alyssa. She's the author and main developer of this. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to be here tonight, but with her help, we were able to explore some tools through ArcGIS and develop this new dynamic engaging story map, which showcases our recent successes with videos, photos, quotes, pictures, stories, and more. There's a ton of great information in there. It's long, but it's comprehensive, and it's also, you can pick and choose, you can scroll through, you can skim it, however you want to take it in. Some of the highlights that are in this story map I'll share tonight, but I encourage you to open it up and engage with it. Then there's the climate dashboard. So this has evolved quite a bit. Again, this is a tool that the commission actually helped us develop a couple years ago and provided more feedback on last year. And it includes key indicators that we track year over year across different topic areas. So here's an example of transportation, some of the key indicators that we track. And we have, a variety of key indicators for the other sections, other categories in CAP 2.0. And these key indicators are really meant to evaluate whether our actions are and the work we're doing, the investments we're making are helping us to achieve our desired outcomes. So our new dashboard, you know, you could say it's caught up with modern times. We're using new website features to the extent possible, new visuals to make it easier to navigate. And we've also added some new data points that we're tracking. It also includes information from our most recent GHG inventories, greenhouse gas inventories, in ways that are a little easier to digest. If you don't know what a greenhouse gas inventory is, it basically tracks like where are our emissions coming from and how are they changing year over year. So it's a really sophisticated tool, but it can be daunting to understand. And so on the dashboard, I've tried to break it out into a way that's a little bit more digestible and like what what big takeaways are. So visit the climate dashboard. And again, both of these are available from that 4-pager that I sent out. So now I'd like to dive into all of this a bit more and share our stories, our highlights, and how we're evaluating our impact. So overall, our climate action plan is 67% implemented. That's just 5 years after the plan was created. So I'd say this is a huge success considering how tumultuous the last 5 years have been with the pandemic and changing priorities, budgets, etc. over that time frame. A lot of the actions are considered completed but ongoing. And that means that the programs have been implemented, but they just continue to function and operate and grow and evolve with the times. Only 4% are not yet started. I'd say that's pretty good, again, given what's unfolded in the last 5 years. So that's high level where our CAP 2.0 is at. Now I'm going to dive into some of the stories and metrics for different sections, for different categories. So transportation is our biggest opportunity area for impact because it is the largest source of our greenhouse gas emissions, representing almost half, more than half. Most of those emissions come from the use of gas and diesel burned in transportation vehicles. Our goals with transportation are to support more active transportation options, create a more balanced transportation network, increase the use of electric vehicles, and promote compact development, which we've talked about a lot a couple months ago, so that people don't need to rely as much on personal vehicles. Some recent successes in 2024 include we completed the 2 major protected bikeways, one along High Street and one along 8th Avenue through downtown. There's also new lighting on the Fern Ridge bike path, which is making bike transit out to West Eugene safer and more accessible. We're seeing, as you can see by the chart, we're seeing huge uptake of electric vehicles. Our local utility eWeb provides rebates for charging infrastructure. There's also rebates available through the state. And there's also other work happening to make electric mobility more accessible. So there's a car share pilot project. You can rent an EV for a short term. So yeah, and then last thing here is a highlight is to promote compact development. This last year, we rolled out 2 new incentives. One is a tax incentive and a fee assistant, and the other one is a fee assistance, both targeting the downtown core to hopefully encourage developers to build more housing downtown so that people don't need to commute as far or rely as heavily on a personal vehicle, since downtown is really well served by public transit. The idea here is that if you can concentrate housing and services, you know, people can get most of their needs met without needing to use a car. So one of the metrics that we use to track the use or to track really our efforts related to transportation is by tracking the use of gas powered vehicles through how much gasoline is consumed, how much gasoline is purchased. From 2011 to 2024, total gas sales in Eugene dropped by about 4%. But when you adjust for population growth, the drop is actually much larger, around 15%. There was a sharp decline in 2020, obviously due to the pandemic. And while fuel sales have gone back up since then, in 2024, we're still lower, 5% lower than we were in 2019. So, I mean, I think the theme that is gonna come up again and again throughout this presentation is, we're moving in the right direction, but it's still not enough to meet our goals. For buildings, this is the next largest source of emissions, due to many things, but, sorry, this is primarily due to the use of natural gas in buildings. Some emissions also come from electricity and other fossil fuel sources. Goals here include to transition to clean and renewable energy, to use energy more efficiently, as well as to use less energy during periods of peak demand, which is when energy is typically the dirtiest. Several recent successes here include, the city has taken big steps to make city-owned buildings and facilities cleaner and more efficient. The new city hall got some big upgrades before staff moved into that building, and we continue to make energy efficiency upgrades in a lot of our other buildings. Echo Hollow got a big one, the Boys and Girls Club got some big upgrades recently, the fire stations. In terms of home energy score, I know, so 81 renters and homeowners got free home energy scores last year from trained certified UO students. This program is funded by the city, and actually just last month, we received an award for from the UO for this partnership, so that's something we're really proud of. There have also been expanded incentives and rebates for households to install heat pumps and other, clean energy technologies. Many of these rebates are available through EWEB, our local utility. There's also rebates through the state and federal tax credit for now. Thanks to EWEB's heat pump rebates, over 1,200 homes are now enjoying cleaner, more efficient heating and cooling. So one of the key indicators on buildings is tracking electricity use over time. This chart shows that electricity use has actually remained fairly steady, even as population has grown. And, we're lucky here that our electricity provided by EWEB is over 90% of it is coming from carbon-free sources. So, yeah, so this is good. And part of the reason they've been able to maintain steady demand despite population growth is because of their focus on energy efficiency and conservation, as opposed to therefore sort of preventing them from needing to pursue new energy resources. So waste, that's our third big category. It's a significant portion of our emissions, mainly from decomposing waste in the landfill and refrigerant leakage from appliances. Our goals here are to promote composting, recycling, as well as expand, regional infrastructure and coordination to improve waste recovery. Recent successes, the city has a composting program for commercial businesses, Love Food Not Waste. And currently there are 217 businesses participating. We also have a composting program for residential homes, so you can just put food scraps straight into your yard debris bin. For the other two here, so the city's waste prevention team has been working hard on outreach and education related to two big statewide policies that are rolling out. The first is the styrofoam ban. So that's primarily going to affect businesses, and staff have been working with a lot of local businesses to help them transition to more sustainable products. And then the other statewide policy is the Recycling Modernization Act. That's going to go live in July. And so that will standardize, recycling across the state and a lot of other things to improve recycling access.
When is the styrofoam one effective?
I believe that was effective January 2025.
Okay.
So it's already in effect.
That's why I was thinking, that it already.
So one metric here is to measure our success related to waste prevention is tracking how much waste is generated and how much of that being generated, how much is being sent to the landfill versus getting recovered through either recycling or composting. And right now we're at about 53% recovery rate. That's pretty good, but we're not quite reaching the 63% goal for Lane County. And again, similar to the electricity take home, even as our population is growing, we're still maintaining fairly steady. So, that means, you know, we're moving in the right direction, but there's still a lot of room for improvement. In terms of consumption, a lot of emissions come from consumption, you know, the goods and services we buy that are produced and transported from elsewhere that creates emissions. And so our goals are to reduce consumption, use low carbon building materials, which are a big source of emissions, as well as implement more sustainable purchasing policies. So some recent successes is through fix-it fairs that the city hosts in partnership with some community partners, that those promote reuse and repair of consumer goods. The idea with these events is that it's better to repair or buy used than it is to buy new. And we have great stats with the success of those. In 2024, there were 7 fairs, 174 plus items salvaged, and to date, since these fairs started, we've saved over 3,000 pounds of items from going to the landfill. The city has also created new requirements for beginning in 2025 for using low carbon concrete for all city funded projects. Concrete has really high emissions, so these requirements are going to require contractors to use low carbon concrete for all capital projects. And so we're excited to start we've already sort of begun tracking, you know, the baseline where we're at now, but we're excited to see what the impact of those policies will be going forward. And then finally, resilience. So like I mentioned, we have a range of strategies to help our community adapt and become more resilient to climate change. This includes enhancing community preparedness, expanding and protecting our natural resources, and protecting access to clean water. So we have a robust tree planting program. I know Urban Forestry came in and chatted with y'all, but overall, we've seen an increase in canopy coverage from 22% to 24% citywide, as well as in the Bethel neighborhood, we've seen an increase from 8% to 9%. So you know, we're moving in the right direction, albeit slowly, just because our urban forest faces a number of, you know, challenges on that front. The CERT program, so the Community Emergency Resilient, what is CERT stand for? Community Emergency Response Training Program, has been wildly successful. This program trains community members, people who live in neighborhoods, to be able to respond and support emergency responders in the case of an emergency. So that program is really popular. And last year, we also opened another emergency water site at the new YMCA. So these emergency water sites are designed to be locations where people can access clean water during an emergency. So I'm going to zoom back out now a little bit. I know that was a lot of, you know, big stories, but a lot of them. And so I'm zooming back out now to talk about what this means for our overall emissions trends as a way to sort of assess our impact overall. And again, this is through analysis of through our greenhouse gas inventories that sort of help us get a sense of our trends overall. So fossil fuels are the largest source of emissions in Eugene. And that's why one of our top goals is to reduce fossil fuel use by 50% by 2030. Since 2010, fossil fuel use has decreased by 11%. So that's progress. But to stay on track, we still need to cut an additional 39% in the next few years. We also track emissions for city operations. So this is for, you know, just the city as a business. What are our trends in emissions? And we have seen a 24% reduction in emissions since FY 2010 by a lot of this decrease is the result of switching to renewable diesel for our fleet. And by transitioning to cleaner, more efficient energy use in buildings. So that feels like an exciting stat there, that 24%. And you know, there was a obvious dip in the COVID years, but we're also hopeful that we haven't quite rebounded to pre-COVID levels. But again, still a lot to do. So that's about it. I know this was a lot of information that I kind of raced through, but I think my takeaway is, you know, we're moving in the right direction, but not quite enough. We're not necessarily on track to meet our climate goals. And I encourage you to check out some of these tools to learn more in the areas that interest you more and at your own pace. That's about it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do they estimate the 3,000 pounds diverted from the Fix-It fairs? You know, that just seems so interesting. I just wanted to know how you figured that out.
So they literally, I produced the Fix Affairs, sorry.
No, I know, I figured I'd get a good answer here.
We track each item, like, and how many of them were fixed, so they can literally say the average weight of like this particular item is X amount. I'm assuming that's kind of.
Can they
how-
write it
yeah.
down? Like,
Yeah,
for
we
every
have-
single thing.
Yeah, we have spreadsheets that people to log in to the Fix Affairs, they have to say what they're bringing,
Oh,
and,
cool.
you know, so it's pretty specific, yeah.
Cool. I was just impressed by that, like, number, that it was a weight
Yeah.
of the things.
We used to, I think. Some communities do weigh stuff, and I think we might have weighed stuff before, but, yeah, I think there's average weights at this point for things.
Yeah,
so,
I would imagine, yeah, but thank you as well, and if you guys haven't checked out the story map, it's pretty cool. I mean, this is like, she's not making up, like, embellishing that it is like a leap into the into the modern world we live in
Yeah.
from what it was before, or from what it wasn't, I guess. But anyway, check it out. Jan?
I just wanted to say it's a tremendous amount of really great work. It's, yeah, I'm looking forward to having more time to go through it all, and it's really clearly presented, very, very nicely done. And I do think it'll, even at this, this is, I think, put together about as well as you could. It's still a little overwhelming in terms of the amount of information. So interesting to see how we get people to engage with it, but I think it's really good. I'm wondering, since you've been, I've seen both of you going through this stuff a lot, what you think are some of the most ripe areas for us to look in the next year or two, you know, on where we can make the improvements or how we can speed things up. And you may haven't thought about it now, or certainly when we do our planning retreat, I think that would be real interesting to hear.
Yeah, I mean, you know, transportation and buildings are still the biggest categories of emissions. So focusing efforts on those is gonna have the biggest impact. Our focus next is on expanding the home energy score program. We think that that's sort of in line with what we heard in our engagement last year on building decarbonization, that, you know, people need more information about what they can do in their home, and the home energy score is a tool that's personalized to your house about the biggest, you know, opportunities for impact and reduction. So expanding that program is a big priority. And I think as part of this process, you know, we're looking at like, what are the next actions? We've implemented 67% of the cap. Like I said, you know, that was written 5 years ago. And so, priorities have changed, budgets have changed. Like, what's the next list of actions that, the city and our partners are ready to focus on? And, I think that's also a next step.
Yeah.
So.
Thanks, Jan. I don't know who was it Mitra or was it Courtney? I didn't see who did it first.
To that one of the questions I had on the 67% is that if everything was measured equally, so every task was given 1 point, 67%, or is it 67% of like the estimated impact? Do you know what I mean? So if the overall impact of all those tasks was 100 points, I'm just making math up for the ease. Some of those are obviously gonna have more impact than others.
Totally.
So is it 67% of the whole pie of impact you're targeting, or
No.
is it just
It's 67% of the actions.
of the tasks?
Of
Okay,
67% of the 117 actions have been implemented.
so it's possible that that 67% might only represent like a 10% impact when it
Mhm.
actually comes to output. Do you have a way to flip that metric a little so we could actually get a sense of like of the tasks you all have completed, the weight?
Well, I think that's part of what our emissions inventories do. I mean, the emissions inventories, you know, those measure our total emissions year over year. And we've seen some small decreases over the years since 2010, since we've been tracking those. And so that's one tool that we have to sort of measure the impact of what implementing the actions have done.
Okay, and I just really fast went through stuff, so I didn't see that was in there, I'm sorry.
Mitra?
Oh, I just wanted to say, I remember the presentation from last year and I do feel like it's very evident that you incorporated a lot of feedback and that it is so much more consumable, intuitive in the way that it's, you know, received, or I like the abilities to like search at different depths or you know, drive people to different
Mhm.
interests. And yeah, I just wanted to say, I thought you did a really good job. Yeah, thank you.
Dennis has his hand up. On the, online.
Dennis.
Dennis?
Dennis.
You're muted. We can't hear you.
Work and I'm having some unstable connection things, so hopefully this can work. I mean, I'm still on that question. Can you hear me?
Yep.
You can, okay, because you guys have been frozen a couple of times, so I'm not sure, like, give me a, you're looking frozen now again, so I'm trying to log in with another device, so. I
We
don't
can
know if
also
it's my
turn on-
device.
And that will use less of your bandwidth if you want.
We hear you.
Yeah, I'm gonna lose, yeah, just a sec. Any rate, so you can hear me. That's the kind of key piece, and I can see you. So you've seen me before. A couple of things, and that one is I keep circling back to the whole point of a education and outreach committee. This echoes and expands on the really good PowerPoint that you did a lot of work on before, Danielle, and still trying to figure out what are the populations, and like a specific question that comes to me as an example. I'm involved with group Interfaith Earthkeepers. Can I share this with its membership? And how might we share links to this material from that organization or 350 or Extinction Rebellion or the other climate advocacy organizations in the community? Because you know, this is good information. It's good to know. It's both encouraging that we're 11% to a goal, you know, but it's also discouraging that there's 29% more to achieve when we look at that overall goal of reductions. And how do we spread the word? That's my primary question, and appreciate everyone's thoughts.
Anyone want to comment on, do you want to comment on Dennis's?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is meant to be a tool to get out there, so pushing it through the avenues that y'all have would be great.
I'll be
Um,
tabling at the Jefferson West Side potluck next week, neighborhood meeting. For this commission. And I was just thinking I'll bring my laptop with a portable power bank because this battery is terrible.
For the story
And
map.
see if I can't get a hotspot moving and have that on the table, right? Like that's pretty, as long as you can get the power and the signal,
That'd
that
be
would be a
great.
cool way for people to see and, you know,
Yeah.
poke it.
Be great.
One quick example.
I know John has something else, but does any, before we move on, did you want to comment
Yeah.
about Dennis's?
I was gonna suggest that maybe we include the QR codes in the tabling materials, just
Yeah,
so people can
totally.
pull them up directly from that engagement.
Well, the 4-pager was sort of meant to be both an online thing and a print thing.
Yeah.
So I can print that out, you know.
Does the 4-pager have QR codes to those? Perfect. So that's all we need.
Almost thought of everything.
Does anyone have any other comments about Dennis's comment? All right, John?
I was in the 67% world too. That's 2/3 is done. 1/4 of what we're after has
Right.
happened. So are there
Less than
a couple of big ones that we haven't started, or is some of the 67 a continuing process that, you know, those are such divergent numbers that it's
Mhm.
confusing. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky question to answer, right? Like it begs the question like. Were the actions enough to begin with?
How was the last third? gonna
And I
do
think when you
this?
look at how the cap was put together, you know, it's the actions and commitments that partners and that the city and partners at the time were willing to commit to. And so, you know, there's big systems lever changes that aren't necessarily captured in the cap 2.0 actions and those, you know, that's sort of the elephant in the room.
Can you say more to that? I don't say that differently. I wasn't quite.
The cap 2.
Or maybe
so
just name
if you
the
look at. Like. What's in the cap 2.0, it's the actions that the city and our partners were willing to commit to at the time. And so, it sort of,
So it doesn't reflect the goal.
well, it reflects the goal. It's like, what are we willing to do to achieve these goals? Like, what can we commit to now to achieve these goals? And now that we're 5-6 years in, like there's still, we're not on track to meet our goals.
Within the cap 2.0.
Yeah. Well, with being
With the
67%
actions that-
implemented, we're not seeing 67% reduction. In emissions, we're seeing, you know, 11%, 24% for city, so. There's a
He's
lot more to
implying
be
it's not
done.
the implementation, it's the.
And I mean,
goal-
I
it's
think-
The actual actions themselves that were created at the time.
I
They're
think,
just not maybe good enough. Right? I mean, potentially, I'm saying that's the thought process.
yeah, and I mean, the other part is like. Cap 2.0, you know, the programs and policies that are being implemented, that lays a foundation for the community to like also make behavior changes and interact with those programs and make lifestyle changes and go green. And so, I mean, I'm not saying that we don't need systems level change. We 100% do. But there's also a piece to play that like we can pass the policies, we can build the infrastructure, we can, you know, build the bike lanes, but like it also we can build the composting program, but it also takes education and participation from the public in order to maximize the emissions reductions benefits from that.
Alexi?
I put this up a while ago, but I'm actually glad that we had the conversation until now, because I was gonna build on what you said first, but then coming back, so I was looking, you know, we've got 16% just completed. 51% of the actions by number, not by impact, are completed but ongoing. And then, you know, the other third roughly are mostly in progress and a smattering not started. So that, but then as I scroll through this really cool story map, by the way, it is really neat. As I scroll through, I see things like, you know, action transportation 1 is build and complete 261 transportation projects, and that includes some of the things like the 8th Avenue Bikeway or High Street Bikeway, stuff like that. Those are, you know, you do them up front, and it's laying the foundation for eventually people are gonna
Early
bike
wins.
more and presumably drive less. But it's gonna take years until this is like an early investment in a pretty long-term eventual reduction to get the system good enough that it's more than a few people that are gonna say, oh, okay, I can totally buy. So that's one thing I noticed is like most of them aren't done. They're done but continuing. And so that was one thing I just wanted to point out based on the recent conversation. I also wanted to see if there was any kind of high, medium, low rating. Like it's hard to say this bikeway is gonna produce 27 metric tons of carbon reduction over its lifetime. Like that would be cool, but I bet all 200 whatever actions don't really have that lifetime carbon reduction quantified. It may be, but it's pretty hand wavy in some cases. But is there some kind of like, this action is a big one and this one's little?
Yeah, so if you look back at the original CAP 2.0, there's like, certain actions have been asterisked as like high impact actions. And another tool, which I didn't share with you, which I can if people are interested, is our implementation plan, which sort of rates each action, again, high, medium, low in terms of climate impact, like emissions impact and resilience impact. So yes, there is sort of a, assessment of which actions are going to produce the most impact.
How are we doing on the big ones?
Yeah.
That's my key question.
Could you create a similar graphic that does that story, which is to tell the story of how far along we are or are not, as opposed to, sorry, I totally like put it up and just.
Kind of happened, yeah.
I think we're kind of speaking the same language here.
Like sort of a percentage of high impact actions that have been implemented, or
If all of the actions have some weight of value of impact, and aggregately they come together to total that pie chart. Knowing how that pie chart looks based on the impact volume, 67% of the tasks have been done, but they only represent 12% of the impact we desire. Is an interesting story to the community to have them have that sense of urgency or awareness or like, oh, I need to pay attention because, we're backloading the work or it helps you have the discussion about what you prioritize next because so I think that's the question I was trying to.
Yeah, no, I think this is really good feedback. I think it's like something that integrates like the emissions chart with the CAP 2.0 implementation chart. Some sort of communication between those in a more direct way.
Yeah, and some of that, like you said, the prioritization that was made early on, we haven't reviewed that in a while, which actions had the heavier weight and respected.
So that's what you're seeing on the screen now. So this comes from the CAP document
Right.
initially, and those are the high impact areas that Danielle talked about, where there was an attempt to do exactly what you're asking, Courtney, which was to try to assign what the emission reduction potential would be of implementing those actions. There has not been a one-to-one relationship. I think that's been probably a limitation of the CAP as written, is the ability to extract out, okay, if we build the 250 active transportation projects, it's going to lead to X metric tons. Like that math has not been done for various reasons for that.
Sure.
The other challenge is with the inventory that Danielle talked about, we're dealing with aggregated data on a 2-year time lag. And so there's also a time series challenge as well. But I think the point is well taken of, we've done a lot of things, there's a lot of moving pieces, but the goal achievements is lagging behind the action in terms of that. And I think that is probably helping raise the idea of, there are urgent things that maybe need more attention and how to better draw people's attention to that.
I think Tom was next.
I'm just wondering with new construction, if the builders are focusing on low energy, whether it's electrical goods, of any sort, where there is some sort of savings in terms of the amount of electricity or I'm not big on gas, so, just a way to reduce the emissions that way. And I know, personally, I live in a townhome and I got permission took a while, but I got a solar system for my townhome, which was somewhat of a fight to get it approved, but it's really been a wonderful thing. Because, for example, starting probably this month, I won't be paying anything to eWeb until it gets colder.
Right. Jan?
Oh, wait, I was gonna.
Oh,
answer this
I'm
question.
sorry, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I mean, from what I understand, your question is, are there any types of standards with developers for building to an efficiency standard or with clean energy or with a certain type of energy? And what I can say is the state establishes the building code for, the standard that buildings need to be built at. Was it 1980? Is that the new code or 1990? It's the new code. I'm not sure the exact year, but newer homes are being built to a much higher energy efficiency standard than older homes. I forget what the year was that. But those newer energy efficiency standards, they do require, like insulation and things like that, but they do not specify what type of energy you're allowed to use or require solar panels or anything, so.
Okay, sorry.
It's okay. I was interested to see that, and I can't remember where at this point, referred to the community collaborative or whatever we called that.
The Eugene Climate Collaborative?
Yeah. So is that group active again, or is there some, I mean, certainly there are pieces here that eWeb does and that LTD does and so on, but has there been any recent sharing or discussion or is there any intention to do that?
Yeah, so for those who aren't aware, the Eugene Climate Collaborative was the name given to a lot of the regional partners who were involved in forming CAP 2.0. So it included like eWeb, a bunch of other partners, the school districts, the universities, and others. And that group hasn't remained under the Eugene Climate Collaborative, but we did reconvene under a different name, the Lane Regional Climate Collaborative. Probably in about 2023, we kind of reconvened. And so we continue to meet with those partners in different capacities, but not necessarily under the same banner with the same intention of developing CAP 2.0. But we do, in 2023, we had reconvened to sort of come together. How are we gonna seize this moment of all the new funding that was being made available through the Inflation Reduction Act and some of the other Biden era federal climate investments that were happening. And we continue, the landscape has changed, but we continue to meet with those partners on a regular basis, sort of for different objectives. Great.
Lexi, you're round two, or did you?
Yeah, I just had a quick thought.
Okay.
As you were saying, oh, maybe I could connect these two pieces, and it occurs to me that it would be helpful as you're thinking about that to say, here are the high impact strategies that have been implemented. And here's the scale of impact that we expect to see out of them in the future. Like we've built a bikeway and we're hoping that it increases bike trips. We've built 5 bikeways and we're hoping that that increases bike trips by 20%. I don't know, maybe those numbers don't exist, but it would be helpful to draw the connection. Over half of the actions, almost exactly half the actions so far, are completed but ongoing, right? So like how ongoing? And how are we seeing significant savings from them already? I guess the question is does that completed but ongoing put us in a position where we have momentum and a bit of a glide path, or is it it's ongoing, but it's not enough? And it might be helpful in the high, medium, low impact characterization might be helpful to say completed, ongoing, still needs more versus completed and ongoing, but kind of nibbling around the edges. You see what I mean? That where are we now versus where are we going? What's actually done? What is the infrastructure is there, but people aren't using it, whether that's waste or biking or whatever. That kind of characterization of so people could see, okay, we've completed and ongoing 67%. They're high impact, but most of the impacts haven't showed up yet. And then you might be able to say and here's why, here's what you could do. Just a thought on.
Yeah, no, I
characterization.
appreciate that. I think this point is really well received.
Anyone else have any questions for the fabulous Danielle? Her amazing presentation.
No? All right, well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
For all that hard work and thank you for the presentation. So. Next on the agenda, are committee updates. So, and there's two action items there, but Lexi, did you wanna talk about both of those since Laura's not here?
I guess so. Okay, so let me pull up the agenda.
So the first
we-
one is the clean and reliable backup energy policy memo. If you wanna,
Yeah, we have a memo through the committee. That as at both of these committees, we've sort of. It's grown, it's shrunk, we add stuff, and then we're like, we gotta have a 2-page thing to send to council, and so it goes back down, and then we're like, we should put this thing in, and then it comes back. So. Just fair warning, like, it's not the first time you've seen any of this generally, hopefully. This is not the first opportunity to see any of this. The end goal is to try to produce really concise memos, and as a result of the process, they have things like sources, and it's just big. So we have, I'm just pulling it up so I can make sure I'm looking at the right thing. We have our fact sheet that was through last meeting, and then we have an informative memo to council, which it looks like we are at exactly 2 pages, including the citations. That has gotten, we've worked with Danielle to make sure that we think it sort of makes sense, that it's got the right stuff in, that we hope it is actionable for city council. And as I understand it, the last thing here is if this commission says onward. And then off it goes, although it doesn't need to happen on. I'm personally, as the leader of that committee, I don't really care the timeline. I don't want to send things to council on all the same day, so it's one big chunk. And I'm open to thoughts from staff on when and how we deliver to council, but I'd like to. Wrap it up and get permission okay to send this off, assuming Danielle, that's the right process.
do you
Danielle
wanna
and Debbie.
comment on what you said to me when I was asking that same question, or you?
Yeah, I think at this point, and this is what we did last year too, was we sort of sent it to council as a packet, and I write a cover letter for the top that sort of.
Results of this commission.
Yeah, this is the result of the commission's work over the last year,
Sure.
there's, and then bullet that, table of contents-ish. Of what the attachments are.
And just to your point, to like button up our session. Not really, I don't think we even really can send it out after this session. I guess maybe we could, but it's
I don't know,
more like,
I think it'll go to council before they go for summer break, and they usually go for break mid-July, so.
right, but I mean, you don't wanna send it out like in September,
No.
is what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
no, I'd rather.
Like doing
Yeah,
it,
we'd like to finish this. today.
right, button up the whole thing, start new and. Not, drag it out. I just wanna say, cause I worked on getting them down to 2 pages too.
Thank you.
Is I really appreciate though all of the effort and the input and the stuff that you write and that you put in. There's so much and it's so useful.
And
And
others, not just me.
well, I know, but yes, but on the committee,
Yes.
but I'm just like, it's just funny to like, I like doing that editorial stuff, like it's fun for me. But it's also, I feel like, oh my God, I'm erasing like half of the thing and I feel like all your hard work, I'm not just flippantly like deleting
Sure,
it. I
sure.
just wanted you to know that I
Hard to be
appreciate that.
concise.
It's okay. Courtney, you had a comment?
Yeah, though, to the timing point, just with Siny Die being like 5 days, 8 days away, maybe. I just wondered if, to make it a little evergreen, you wanna just caution on that one, kind of preface to the 3 House bills.
Yeah,
Which is, cause it, by the
Right.
time they get this, it may be past Siny Die and their ability
true.
to submit testimony, and so.
yeah.
I think capturing it from these are recently considered legislative pieces is fine, but you
What
might,
kind of reason?
and I did look and the city hadn't submitted any testimony on those three. Did one of them pass?
I would say that we are already past the point where the city could reasonably submit testimony on any of this.
That's what I looked and it hadn't, so.
When we submit testimony, it goes through our intergovernmental relations committee, and so that process involves like council meetings, giving direction. And so with the end of the session so close, the likelihood that they would do that for the session would be.
I think, so this memo says Eugene's intergovernmental relations committee has determined the city will support these 3 bills. But I don't know if that resulted in,
So there wasn't any submitted testimony on all this. So, I mean, I just think it, like, the Oregon State, my proposal was that the Oregon State Legislature has recently considered the following bills. So it still is relevant and it still gets them in there. And it might be that if you want to make a recommendation, it's that, you know, in future sessions, a similar bills come up, consideration of submitting testimony or something, or it's just flagging the bills, but
Yeah, I
that
think
was my catch.
they were not ones that they were not ones that showed up on the report that I got of things that we were like very active on.
sure,
So.
nice to have. In terms of timing and process here, we would want to write this, so we would want to say something like the Oregon State Legislature recently considered,
The following bill.
but we can't really, we have to approve this today. We can't really go back and
We can.
adjust it after the session,
I
right?
mean, you can approve it with those changes.
Mhm.
That's occurred before,
Mhm.
like
Like, can we go
vote to
back in
approve
2
given
weeks
with
and
these
say,
changes.
here's what happened to
I
these
mean, you're
3?
7 days away. I don't. If it hasn't happened now,
Right.
They were all stuck in Ways and Means, the last I heard. Actually, one of them has been kind of dropped off or combined together. There's only 2, only 2 bills, or 2 of those bills still under consideration. They're both stuck in Ways and Means. People are trying to get them out because they're not a big fiscal impact, and I don't know if that'll happen.
Is the question that once the legislative session is over, if they voted affirmatively for these bills, to note that?
Yeah, like we can currently say, like Courtney said, the legislature recently considered. But we can't we can't finalize anything today with knowledge we don't have until 1 week from now. But we also can't change it 1 week from now, right?
could I do a friendly on it?
Sure.
So you do the recently considered, and maybe, because what you're trying to look for is a recommended action, right?
Mhm.
So is it possible that the recommended action is that Eugene's IGR committee, you know, continues to watch, monitor, and participate in,
Support bills that would. in the future.
you know, something to that theme of consider supporting.
Yeah, support future similar bills.
Yeah.
Dennis, did you want to comment on this?
Yeah, I just want to weigh in. I think that language about recently considered and the kind of language that Courtney is suggesting, that Open and Intergovernmental Relations supports these and similar legislation. And then that kind of, we leave timeline out of it. And if similar legislation comes in, the commission is recommended supporting those concepts, at least. So just affirming, I think that language makes sense to me. I've recently considered and hopes that intergovernment relations will support these and similar legislation now and in the future.
So,
Can we move to approve with those changes?
How about-
Just a quick process thought. I'm just wondering, since this is a report from the committee, it has sort of constitutes a motion. Do we want to, maybe put a motion out there to adopt the report with the suggested amendments? Is the action
we
might
just
take?
did.
Yeah.
Right, but with the amendments, is that the motion
Yes.
that's on the table?
Yep.
Yeah, and
Okay.
if I can read the
Yes.
amendments, because I just I just wrote them in the Google Doc that we're using here. Eugene's Intergovernmental Relations Committee determined that the city of Eugene would support these three bills. Actions that city councilors could take to demonstrate their support for similar legislation in the future would be beneficial. And it says at the top, the Oregon State Legislature recently considered the following bills, 1, 2, 3. They are still separated as three, even though they may not have ended the session as three, but
Yeah.
they're in there as three. So
Okay,
is that,
so I can make a motion to approve with the amendments that Alexi just read.
I'll second.
All in favor?
I'm
Are you raising your hand, Dennis?
trying to get there.
Are you-
There it is.
I'm abstaining because it's weird to.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
We don't want weird. No.
That wraps up the work of the clean and reliable backup energy systems.
All right, next.
We have a fact sheet. Cool.
Very good. Thank you, guys.
And then the landscapes, what's the name of the Google Drive folder?
Gas powered leaf blower for. Memo.
Sustainable landscaping is the Google Drive folder.
Sustainable.
Well, all right, see it.
Climate friendly landscape committee.
Thank you. Okay, boom. Okay, so similarly, I guess there is not a public facing memo on that one, as far as I understand, or is there? We grabbed that, right?
Well, there's one in our minutes today,
Yeah.
There's one on the agenda,
in
right?
the agenda, yeah,
No,
or, well,
That's,
there is one
It's in
in,
appendix.
there's a
Yeah,
memo.
it's in our
with an
packet.
opinion.
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not a
that's the-
public flyer.
that's to the council, I mean,
Council.
we don't have a flyer.
Like the other one had a
Yes,
flyer.
I'm sorry, I was thinking action.
No,
Yeah.
no. There was like, this is not a public facing thing. This is a
Just only,
council.
only to council.
Correct.
Bags the public
Yeah.
facing
Well,
thing. So we have,
Like that gets council.
sure, yes,
Right, but yes.
only for people who are okay reading things that are kind of dry and have no pictures. So we have, like I said, we have gone larger and smaller and made improvements at every step. We now have a 2-page memo. It's got a little header at the top, but not a full page header. That was the topic of some discussion in our committee. This is why we have such a good comment. And then we have this 2-page memo that summarizes 2 policy options. One to restrict leaf blower use and one to restrict their sales. And it's just gas powered leaf blowers. That's all we're really talking about here, not any other landscaping stuff. So in the end, it says this, the policy memo to council says it's important for city council to consider actions. Examining other jurisdictions can inform the development of a path forward, of an equitable and effective path forward for Eugene. So we have a memo that's gone through various versions. And we, I guess, as the stand-in for the lead of this committee, which I'm not actually leading, but supported, are bringing it to commission to see if we can also wrap this one up and send it out as end of year.
Comments, questions, concerns on this one?
Nobody's surprised.
Courtney?
So I'm trying to, the memo we just did was kind of like put a bow around a year's worth of work for one subcommittee. This is not the same. This is more a focused policy piece from a different subcommittee.
This is a different committee. This is the work from a
Okay,
different
and it's not
committee.
about summarizing their year of work as much as it's a memo kind of opening up another policy consideration to the council.
Yeah, specifically.
You,
on
yeah, I speak,
gas
because I'm not
powered.
actually on that committee, but
Yeah, I would say it is summarizing work though of the committee for,
For this
Yeah.
policy specific.
yeah.
Okay.
Right. This. People have come to this commission repeatedly over the years and said, we want to talk about gas leaf blowers. And it's popped up in the work plan here and there, and then I think last year it was there and we didn't really do much with it. So we decided to write a policy memo that, and perhaps that rates us do much with it. So that's the outcome of the climate friendly landscaping committee for this year.
Okay, and so I'm just so sorry. At the end of it, when it's all boiled down, if a counselor walks away after reading this, what you're telling them is consider gas powered leaf blowers.
Consider banning or regulating.
No, yeah,
In
but
one
more
of those
regulating
good
than
ways,
banning,
right?
yeah.
Or consider analyzing. Okay.
Consider regulating, and if you do, here are two possible pathways you could go.
Yeah, it's like, this is a topic that people pay attention to. It's come before the Sustainability Commission. Some places regulate them in one of these two ways. Here are examples of those two ways. Notably. Portland.
I've had a hand up a little bit. I don't know if you saw me.
Sorry, Dennis.
Yeah, I think part of it is that it just is unclear. Alexi served on both committees and he's presenting on behalf of both because Laura's not here. Laura was really taking the lead on the, landscaping piece about glass blowers. So you would have heard from her on that separate policy piece. But Alexi served on that committee and is stepping up to represent kind of both issues from both those different, policy perspectives.
Yep. All right. Trying to make a motion? You want to make a motion?
Move, we approve memo to Board of Council on the gas powered leaf blowers. So easy to say.
I'll be glad to second that.
All right, Dennis seconds. All in favor? All righty.
I'm a no.
Opposed.
Yep, one in post, yeah.
I abstain.
I don't understand. Okay.
All right.
What did
Great.
Elliot do? Just,
Oh, Dennis, did you vote?
Yes.
you voted yes?
He was for.
Oh, he did.
He
okay.
seconded.
Oh, he
Oh,
did
that's
second.
right.
That's right, right. Sorry. Okay, great, thank you. That was a lot of work that went into those from a lot of different hands.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Yes, thanks to you too, and to Jan. And to Danielle. Okay, the next thing on the committee updates is the signups for summer tabling events, and I know those were sent out via email. So you have that ability to look at them there and reply back to the email, but if anyone has one on the top of their head that they're gonna throw out right now from that list, that'd be great. And Danielle can write it down.
Yeah, I've heard back from Laura and she's, available for a couple of them. And then Alexi, as he noted earlier, is doing the one that's coming up soon at Jefferson West Side. And I made an error on the one of August 3rd because I will not be in the country that day. I goofed. So please let me know or they're not going to happen.
Jan?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I cannot volunteer for any of these ones that are coming up soon. They all conflict, but certainly the ones later in July, August, and September,
Can you do the Southeast neighbor one? Cause I'm gonna be like coming and going
When-
from that
where-
one,
when
but I
is that?
can't officially table.
I don't see Southeast on here. I'm seeing
It
it.
should be.
Southeast is September
13th.
13th.
Oh, yeah, probably that should be fine.
So I'm going to put you down and I'll put out a little summary of who's committed to what and what we don't have.
Okay,
And
that-
like I said, Dennis, I'll be there
Yeah,
because I have to be, but I won't be able to like sit at the table, but I can kind of come and go and like help out if you need help and help with setup and stuff like that. I'll be around.
all right.
For setup,
Well, and it's
setup,
like I shared
yeah.
in the last thing, my term of office is through after today. But I'm just trying to get as many people lined up for these as like we can. So if you can't reply now, just send me a note.
So, because your term is ending, Dennis, like I said, I've said many times, I'll say it again, you can still volunteer, we'd love to have you. But failing that, we have to figure out what the handoff is for this. So you're gonna write up what you, a little bit more of what you know, and hand that off to Danielle, at least in the
Yep.
interim. And then,
That's the plan. And Alexi currently has the materials. So,
okay,
Big spinner wheel,
Oh, you have it?
Oh, you
I
have
have
it.
all that stuff in my
Okay.
house, right?
so that part of the handoff has occurred, so.
Oh,
But
good.
yes,
That's
I'll
good.
get a summary to Danielle, what we know, but please, I invite people to take a look. You know, it's fun. It's kind of the funnest part of being a commissioner, I think, but it's, you
I
know.
definitely
and-
second that. I think it is fun
It is very
and
fun.
people are happy at these events. They're nice events where people, you know, are going there for food and listen to music. And so you get a really positive, you know, vibe all the way around and lots of interest. And it's cool to meet the other people who are tabling as well.
Mhm.
Because you find out things that you maybe didn't know before and it's a good time.
Yeah, it is, I agree, and, I think you can pretty much always sneak in did you know about this, what the Sustainability Commission is, and we have that one little one-page thing, so some people you can get that off on people. One of the things about the spinning wheel is it really attracts kids, they just wanna do it, but our survey is way too complicated for kids. So our questionnaire thing. So there are a few questions on it that are simpler, so pick those out, or even just make up your own on the spur of the moment about what is something related to sustainability that a kid might get, you know. Do you like to ride your bike? And because it's just fun for them and it's a way to get people to stop it. They can't deal with those hard questions.
Right. My favorite line has been, if you don't know the answer to the question when I ask it, you will know after. So it's a win-win kind of deal. So.
Well, and one more thing, I think it might seem petty in the moment, but writing down just a snippet about the conversation you had.
Yeah.
It's really helpful at the end.
Yes.
You know, to see trends in, you know, what you're hearing, what you're talking about, and when the commission goes to give the presentation to council, you know, at the beginning of the fiscal year or October, whatever, it's really cool to be able to relay that back to council, so.
Right.
Is, quick question. I'm figuring next week. Do I know who I give the stuff to next? I may have missed that. We have someone signed up for something after
Point
next
me, you
week?
coordinate,
Okay,
cause either give it back to me if it's gonna be a while, or a handoff might be easier. Next person.
Yeah, I can communicate with you, Danielle.
okay, cool.
Great, I really appreciate that, everyone who is stepping up for that to do it, and I strongly encourage people who don't think they want to do it, but maybe are available, just stop by, stop by, don't necessarily volunteer, but stop by one and see what it's like or something, just check it out. Cause it is fun.
Yeah, come by Monroe Park next Tuesday.
All right, so kind of funny, it's something I'm just now noticing on the agenda, which is why I was like, we're so ahead. But the time says 6:45 for the committee updates, and now we're back at 6:30.
No.
So,
Oh.
oops,
Yeah,
we traveled in
totally
time a little bit, now we have to travel in time back, but not really. So, okay. So anyway, I'll try to get everything done as fast as
Yeah.
possible here, so, okay, there's now an action item that is both bitter and sweet, right? Cause it's fun to see people step up and it's sad to step down, but, we need to elect the new chair and vice chair. So, quick recap, last week, you were nominated.
I watched the video.
Okay.
Thank
You were
you.
nominated for chair. And you were nominated for vice chair, Alexi. So, do we need any more discussion on this? Do you wanna, either of you have anything to say, or do you wanna do it? You were
Yeah.
kinda on the fence before.
Sure.
You know,
We didn't get
okay.
to arrange a talk.
But
I'm so sorry.
I'll need to improve my on-time performance to the meetings maybe a little bit, but I'll be good for it, yeah.
We can arrange one like afterwards.
Yeah, Mitra has been to a lot of meetings, and we met frequently to discuss what the role would be like for her, and she's seen kind of what happens behind the scenes with me as chair in the meetings, the quarterly meetings that we have, and how we interact with Danielle before these meetings and stuff like that, so she is a good resource and for all of that information, and Jan's an excellent resource too. I just think I couldn't have done it without being vice chair for Jan first.
I just have one question. Are we clear on reappointments? Because my recollection is Mitra, you came on the same time I did 4 years ago. Have you been reappointed?
Yes,
Yeah.
she has been reappointed.
Okay,
have-
good.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah, that was my only question.
Yeah, I can, Mitra and Jan were both reappointed officially. And we have 2 new commissioners coming on, Jan Fillinger and Emily Reynolds.
Jan is joining?
Mhm.
Wow, that'll be cool.
And Emily, who did?
Emily Reynolds,
She
she works at Brain.
Great.
Oh, I know who she is, yeah.
EOE architecture,
Jan, he owns a architecture firm that builds, like passive house.
just down the street
Very
from
cool.
here.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would like, do we have to do them separate or we do them in one?
Let's do them separate.
Okay, so first I'll move to elect Mitra Gruel as the new chair of the Sustainability Commission for the next fiscal year.
Do I need to step out of the room?
No.
I don't
No.
think
I
so.
want a
Okay.
second for the record.
Oh.
Can I get the second?
Dennis can have it if he feels passionate.
Dennis is second. I know, right? All in favor?
You can vote for yourself.
You, actually, you can. All right. It's fine, but it's all right. All right, a second motion then, welcome as new chair. And second motion to elect Alexi Miller as the new Sustainability Commission Vice Chair for the next fiscal year.
I want to make that second too.
Oh, you, the original, I'll make the first then if he wants to second it. Or are you making that?
I just made it.
Dennis is all over it.
He just wants it. He wants it bad.
I
Departing
want to
for
be
public-
on the record one last time.
All right, all in favor?
Thank you.
Alrighty. Welcome, you guys. It's gonna be so fun. I think you'll like it. All right, next. That was smooth. Okay, council updates, 5 minutes.
Okay. I will maybe take less than 5 minutes, we'll see. Over the past couple of months, there's been a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff that's gonna be carrying forward. We did make appointments to boards and commissions, which you've already heard the results of as relates to this committee. A lot of our conversation has been surrounding the budget. The budget committee did recommend a budget to city council. That budget included some short-term partial fixes, funding sources that allowed us to not make as many cuts as we were initially looking at making. Council will be voting on that actual budget next week. But it's likely gonna be what the budget committee recommended to us, so. And there's gonna have to be a lot of work over the next year or 2, 3 years, infinite number of years. Working on more sustainable, long-term, permanent solutions regarding funding challenges at the city. So that's, even though we like got the budget out, like that means the conversation is not anywhere near over and there's still a lot of work there. The other big thing that's gonna be taking a lot of council's time over the next 6 months to a year, I hope not a year, let's say less than a year, is that our city manager is retiring. And so, council will be focusing a lot of energy on the city manager recruitment process. Since it's one of 3 employees that the city council hires directly, and it's gonna be a very robust hiring process, I feel. So those are the things that are like the main things that council's really looking at right now. We are getting a number of presentations and a number of conversations surrounding particularly some of the presentations that this group got surrounding like the public health standards and the conversation surrounding the piece of Envision Eugene. That's dealing with the chapter in the comprehensive plan regarding health. And then as well, urban growth and housing. That's the thing that we're sort of talking about next week, is those sort of chapters in that plan that got presented here surrounding housing and things like that. And then we're also gonna be talking about sidewalks pretty soon.
It's a big one.
So those are some of the main things.
What is talking about sidewalks mean?
It means that we have a work session where staff is gonna come and present to us some information about sidewalks. And there's a packet for that I got around this morning and I haven't read it yet, so I don't know more in depth what it means. But
Great. Well, thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions? No. All right, staff updates.
Okay, well, yeah, I don't have a whole lot of updates. This is the last meeting for this fiscal year, with the commission. The commission's gonna go on break for 2 months, so there's no meeting in July and August, and then the commission will reconvene in September with our new leadership and with 2 new commissioners and, to create a new work plan. Trying to think if I have any updates. That's about it. But I think that leads into the next and last agenda item, which is saying goodbye to our 2 outgoing commissioners and with gratitude. And so I'll lead with that.
Dennis is
If I
waving.
can.
Out of here.
So yeah, let's just start with John. John Fisher is gonna be leading the commission. John has been with the commission for 1 year, and in that time, I really appreciated your willingness to dive in and to understand, you know, what this role means. And I appreciate your service on, you know, a city commission, which I know can be a little wonky and confusing and weird, and but it's an important role, and I think you played the part really well. And in his time, he's served on 2 committees, both the Education and Outreach Committee and the Climate and Friendly Landscapes Committee. So, you know, those are voluntary additional responsibilities that he's taken on. I think you've brought your expertise as, you know, as a communicator with your background in that to that committee. And I think it was really appreciated in developing, you know, the spin the wheel game and participating in the tabling events and helping just sort of figure out how the commission can do outreach and education better. So thank you for your participation in that committee. And then I think lastly, just I appreciate, you know, what you do out in the community. You know, you're out championing the small steps and also living them. And that's really important. And it sort of ties back to what, you know, our conversation earlier with CAP 2.0, that like we need those small steps. They do add up, and it takes clarity and in making that call to action and inspiring people to make a change. So thank you, John, for your service.
But, thank you. And I wasn't completely disappointed that my dream when I did this was somebody younger said to the council, anybody younger than me wants to do this.
Amen to that, Josh.
But there was nobody else at that point, but you had a lot of good candidates. That's
Well, don't cut yourself short. I think you have a lot of wisdom and it's been appreciated,
Good.
so. Yeah, and then Dennis is also making his exit. Dennis has been on the commission for 4 years. In his time, I've been here 2 years, so I don't know much about what you did before that. So I'll speak to what I know, but in my time, Dennis was the chair for the Education and Outreach Committee, and for those who don't know, he was sort of voluntold and strong-armed into doing that by Devin and Jan last year, when we really needed someone to lead that committee. And Dennis, you exceeded all expectations. I mean, you have shepherded the commission into this role of like doing outreach and doing, you know, getting out in front of the community. And so you've done an amazing job with that committee, and you're going to be really hard to replace in that role. Without you, you know, we'll see. That was kind of gloomy.
Wow.
I set a high bar, let's put it that way. And I have full faith that the commission will hopefully be able to meet that bar. I also think you do great advocacy and leadership out in the community, you know, in the faith community, in the childcare community and elsewhere. You've been a climate champion, and so I'm excited to see, you know, how you continue to show up for climate work. And then the last thing is I appreciate your understanding of committee and commission process. Like the quote I'll always remember from you is, I have a process proposal here for this motion. And yeah, so thank you, Dennis. And yeah, thanks for your service.
Oh, thank you. It's been, it's been great. And you will hear from me as an activist. Counselor, you may hear from me more than you did on the commission as a citizen, because then I get to say whatever I want or whatever I think is truth without, going through bureaucratic processes. So I will not be quiet in this community around these issues. So not who I am.
Yeah, right. All right, thank you, and thank you, and, yep. So that, we all done?
Wait.
Did we-
Wait.
Well, no, I mean, yes,
Well, what, I'm sorry, we are moving on to a different item or?
we don't have any other
Okay.
items.
Well, I just wanted to add my thanks. that's
Oh,
all.
absolutely. No, everyone is welcome to do so,
I
for
think it's
sure.
Both, I think all the things you said were great. I think both John and Dennis have been real significant contributors and I especially do appreciate the active role that you both have out in the community and the connections, and I hope that we can keep the connection and you can, when you're out there, you can remember the commission when you're out there talking to people and say, come tell us, say, hey, you really are missing this, somebody should be doing this, or it's just nice to have those relationships to continue. And so just thanks a lot for everything. It's been cool.
Absolutely.
And I also have a question. Do we have, are we planning that the work planning session will be on our regular September meeting date?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's September.
I want to make sure I have it right.
September 17th.
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody should have that on their calendar, and
Yeah.
it's usually an extended.
Yeah, it's usually a
period of
little
time.
longer. We'll probably start at 5 p.m.
Look at
instead of
that.
5:30. Dinner will be provided. And it's usually like a 3-hour meeting.
And if, okay.
Having not been through it before, I guess I could watch it back because it's recorded in the last year.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you send out like information
Yeah.
well in advance or like.
Would it be, yeah, I can give a little more information. So typically the way it's worked is, like the work plan development process, the way that's worked is, I usually curate sort of the first stab of like a whole bunch of like policies and programs that are in development or seeking feedback or coming up for council within the next year. That there's usually about like 20 to 25 things on that list. Me and the chair and the vice chair usually whittle that down to about 15 or 16 things that are of interest to the chair and vice chair. And then that list is what gets shared with the commission, and it gets discussed and massaged at the retreat. And at the retreat, then, after that discussion, we put it up on the board, the topics. If there's additional topics that people want to suggest, those can get added as well. And then we do like dot voting to narrow it down to like, I think 10 to 12 topics that the commission will decide will address that year.
And, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna
Fair.
say, we did it with 2 sections, the presentations that we'll receive in our meetings, and then also the
committees.
committees that we'll be focusing on. So it's like, those are treated kind of separately, so where we can contribute and do a little more work with internally in the committee versus like what we want to know about is happening in the community.
And so if committee members have ideas,
Mhm.
you'd prefer that we hold them until that discussion, or do you want them in advance?
Yeah.
So you can consider them as part of the chair.
Yeah, actually, it would be helpful if you can submit them in advance.
I feel like you send
think
out
we
an email asking.
Yeah, like usually in August, I'll be like,
When it
hey,
gets
if you
closer.
have, an idea you want either as a committee or as a topic, send it to me. We'll include it in
And
the
there's
packet.
3 committees Max, and so there's a voting for the committees as well with the other ideas and maybe ideas leadership came up with us, or maybe Danielle or with the idea always of alignment in mind, hopefully.
Yeah, I just want to add, because then the work plan gets approved by council and is really prescriptive of what we work on. So it's important to, put the thought in ahead of time in the discussion at the session and figure out what the work.
The committee topics are part of that as well. Council
Right,
also
yeah.
approves the committee topics. Dennis?
Wait, you're still there? Dennis?
No, I just wanted to lift up again that there is a vacancy now on ETAC with me leaving the Envision Eugene Technical Advisory Committee. And there are other opportunities for commissioners to serve an advisory role. But the the establishment of that committee stipulates a specific commission member. So that's something you may want to look at work plan time.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have any more appointed to that?
No.
So I will say I'm looking for a very specific thing. ETAC is gonna be having a member orientation for some new members on August 7th. And so if there is someone who wants to join before then, that would probably be swell.
Do we just email you if we have interest? I'm not saying I
Yes.
do.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I
ETAC is
suggested,
a fabulous committee and you all should
Is that
join.
a land use wonky? So I don't,
Please join.
but I'm just asking.
I had recommended that you consider it. So in a prior conversation with you, so.
Respectful.
All right. Alexi?
I was just gonna say relevant to the September session. First off, we don't need any land acknowledgement for that one, is that right? Or is it already on the books?
It's not on the books. You
Do
can
we
sign
need
up.
someone to do that? Okay, so it just occurred to me, but so I'll just plant
Are you
that.
putting on his vice chair?
Yeah, I know, you,
Right.
you got this.
So the other thing is, over the summer, there are several opportunities for public engagement. One thing that's really nice to bring to that meeting is here's what other people other than us think are priorities. So I'll be trying to, that's one of the key things we're trying to gather at these neighborhood potlucks. So I'll try to get that info, but anyone who wants to do your homework in person, you can go to one of these things and come to that meeting with some info on what community priorities we might pay attention to next week.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
that's
just it.
great
No,
to
it's like
bring,
It brings us
like
to.
we've done before, is like a summary of the tabling, like.
Mhm.
Remember how we did that before? I feel like there was like so
Engagement
Dennis
summary?
wrote up a summary
Mhm.
of the engagement from last year. And I think that was really helpful and a great thing to share at the retreat.
It's nice
for
to
sure.
have something on
Yeah.
in that meeting.
Yep. John?
So I'm always writing down story ideas, and the Sustainability Commission has a place where people's voices can be heard is one. When would you not, but running something of that nature right now would mean you wouldn't, so when do you want to hear from public before the retreat or?
No, more
or
like
never?
October is when public comment starts again.
Okay, that
Yeah.
answers the question.
October through June.
Sounds good.
That's really wonderful.
The retreat's open, there can be public comment.
Yeah, I
but
guess there-
it's, I think, John, to answer your question, I think probably after the retreat and the work plan has been.
After you've decided what's gonna happen, then people can put their input in. Well, just a kind of a process question. Yeah, because people will
that's not-
feel less.
Yeah, I think if people, I think if people wanna have a comment about what goes into the work plan, they should come give public comment at the September retreat.
Okay.
Um,
I'll touch base with you before,
Okay.
but just a thought.
Mhm.
Yeah, we'd be all famous for good blood, all these people are gonna come.
Well, then we'll have to have another meeting.
Cafe Yum for everyone.
Is that what we did?
It
Sometimes.
last
No, it
time.
wasn't, because I was in charge.
Build your own teriyaki bowl
That's
was
pretty good.
last time, and actually I think this time doing
We did
Taco
Taco
Logo is my newest
I like
idea.
it. I love a good cafe yum catering.
There's a lot of Cafe Yum in the city. But. All right, if there's nothing else. Even with the strange time travel, we're adjourning 5 minutes early. So, what? Chris?
So. Do we get a chance to say thank you, Devin?
Thanks, Devin.
You're
So-
so welcome. Thank you, Chris.
So,
I'm
yeah, I
sorry.
mean,
It's too exciting, it's okay.
no, I mean, other people can please chip in as well, but, just, I mean, thank you for everything. You're a very good communicator, make everybody feel welcome. You're a good listener. And, you also get stuff done. That's a pretty good combination to have. I think kind of rare these days, so. Anyway, just want to thank you for all of your work, because I have a sneaking suspicion that this is the tip of the iceberg, meaning these meetings as to what the work that's put in and all those things, so thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Mitra?
Yes, thank you so much for, I wanted to give credit to both, you and Jan for kind of blazing the trail with restructuring how these are led and the system and the like fluidity. I've been on this commission for 4 years now, so I got to see kind of pre that and then post that, and I feel really great about some of the things you all have blazed. Thank you for onboarding me into these systems and being such an amazing guide and mentor, and like, yeah, I am so very appreciative of both of you, and absolutely for you for like, yeah, all the work you do. I will find out more about that this week.
You will.
But like, yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't even, yeah.
Jan?
No, I agree. Devin's done an outstanding job this year. Thank you very much. It is a challenge sometimes, and so I appreciate that. And enjoyed working with you before, and you guys are gonna do great. I'm looking forward to this year, and I'm glad you're sticking around too.
Oh, yeah. No.
Okay.
No, of course. Yes, Courtney.
Thank you, because you were very welcoming and kind, and from day one, which was very meaningful coming onto a commission that's new and wrestling with different topics. So it meant a lot and has kept me engaged, which I really appreciated. So thank you.
And I want to thank everyone for my wonky agenda problems that I often have, where I'm skipping things and going back and whatever, but this time was not my fault. This is 100% the times. My fault. The times were over, but I did not catch it either, so I'm just gonna full disclosure, but I can do any of it and you can't do any of it without Danielle and Ian.
That's for real.
Oh, well, you do little sneaky stuff, I know you do. But so for sure, she's an amazing asset, don't abuse her. And her time, that's always like on my mind when I'm abusing her time. So anyway, thank you to everyone, it's been fun, and I highly encourage everyone to try it. If you have time, I know you can't because you're leaving, this will be gone after next year, but don't be afraid of it, just step into it, and you give what you can give. And that's what's really valuable, is that everybody can participate. Adjourn, right? Thanks.
Right on time.
Right on time, I know. Let's push